Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Namaskar. You have stepped into a course that is going to change the way that you look at data. Not just how you analyze it, but also how you communicate it. My name is Nivid Desai. I serve as the Program Executive at Writing Studio IIT Gandhinagar. Welcome to Writing for Data Science. This course is at the intersection of analysis and communication. As all of us know, data analysis is not just about coding and models. It is about solving real-world problems. And that is exactly why every single thought that goes into solving those problems needs to be communicated. And not just to one audience, across multiple stakeholders. That is where this course comes in. This course prepares you with the foundations of writing, especially curated for data science. We will discuss audience analysis, critical thinking, logical reasoning, as well as storytelling that is native to data science. So join me on a journey at the intersection of numbers and narratives. I'll see you in class. Namaskar, hello and welcome to Writing for Data Science. My name is Nivid Desai and we are on a journey of exploring the interesting intersections of numbers and narratives. This lecture is a companion lecture to the past one. In the last lecture, we looked at some strategies for reader-centric writing. We looked at how they orient our thinking patterns to match those of our audiences. And we learned some exercises that can help us implement these things in our writing practice. As a companion to the last one, in this lecture, I will take you on a journey of exploring some approaches to reader-centric writing. And these approaches will also be coupled with some exercises and some reflection so that we ensure that our understanding of the subject is as concrete as possible. Let's begin with the first approach. Use the reader's mental models. What do I mean by this? Write in a way that fits how the reader already understands the world. Use terms, examples, and formats that they are familiar with. Don't introduce something radically different that may need to struggle to fit their already existing understanding of how communication works or how the content of that communication works. For example, to a sales leader, refer to lead conversion and customer touchpoints. This is the vocabulary, this is the world, this is the universe that they are in touch with. They are connected with these terms, with this knowledge, and they are tuned into the developments that are happening in this field as well. So if you speak to their language, if you speak to their mental models, it will help your communication resonate much better with the targeted audience, that of a sales leader. Now let's look at a data engineer. So to a data engineer, you may refer to pipelines, latency, or processing time. That is something that the data engineer is more attuned to. They might not know about lead conversion, so we don't introduce that vocabulary into communication that is meant for their consumption. You can break it down and introduce that as a new concept. It'll just take a lot more struggle for somebody attuned to the vocabulary of a data engineer to accommodate all of these new informations into their already existing worldview. That's why identifying the audience's mental models may also be pretty interesting. In the next few lectures, we might look at mental models in depth. What are the mental models that different stakeholders have? And we'll look at how each mental model has its own inherent strategies and approaches that we can use to augment our writing for the audience. But for now, let's reflect on this question for a minute. What terms or examples might you use differently for a data scientist versus a marketing manager? Mind you, one is a technical audience, one is a non-technical audience. Their universes will be different. Their worlds will have different vocabulary. They will be tuned into different frequencies of knowledge. And you have to communicate the same data insights for different utilities to them. What mental models do you think will be native to a data scientist versus to a marketing manager? Try to put yourself in their shoes and see the world through their eyes. It'll be fun to reflect on. I'll see you in a minute. Now let's move on to the second approach. Use formatting to guide the reader's eye. That's right, formats don't exist arbitrarily. They are not rules to be followed without any rhyme or reason. They exist to serve and cater information in a way that will be intuitive to the reader. I understand that in the past, sometimes formats may have seemed like an unnecessary rule being imposed. But in this case, formatting, which is a conscious decision and not necessarily a rule to be followed, any kind of formatting will lead towards better engagement in your writing. And that's what we are always aspiring for. So, you make your writing easy to scan and absorb. You can use headings and subheadings to break up the text and to categorize them according to the logic of the inherent narrative that you are building. Sometimes you can use bullet points or bolded insights to highlight the key insights, to highlight the key points. Sometimes you can also use graphs and visuals to reinforce your message. All of these are formatting decisions that you take to ensure that your writing becomes reader-centric. For example, you might have written a 300-word paragraph about customer churn trends beforehand. But in this case, you might be making your information unnecessarily dense. And again, what if your reader has no time to read a 300-word paragraph? You turn it into something like this: a bold subheading. Why customers leave? This is the question that the rest of the details will answer. And the rest of the details are in fact a bulleted list. 43% cite pricing issues, 35% cite lack of engagement, and 22% cite technical issues. In this case, whatever the keywords are that you want your reader to draw focus on, you can also bold them. You can also use another kind of alignment to ensure that it catches your reader's eye. Fun, right? So here's an exercise for you. You can take a long paragraph of explanation that you may have written previously as a part of our course and break it into a bulleted summary for clarity. Try to give it a catchy heading while you're at it so that you can augment it to how a reader would require the information to be catered. I'll see you again with the third approach very soon. The third approach teaches us to test and revise our writing based on feedback. The first draft is rarely perfect. It is important to get it done than to get it right. Because the first draft, nobody is the target reader. Nobody is expecting perfection out of you. So, you test your writing by asking a peer, ideally from a different background, somebody who may not have the same domain knowledge that you do. What kind of questions that you may ask them? Did this make sense to you? Was anything confusing or unclear? What would you want to know more about? And then, based on these questions, you revise the drafts to suit the kind of curiosities that they have led you on. This is how you also build the instinct of preempting any confusion, of expecting your readers' questions. Remember, we used that as both a strategy and a principle of preempting the reader's questions. And this helps us develop that muscle, that instinct of knowing what the reader might ask and then including those answers within our writing. For example, you may show your technical report to a non-technical classmate and you may ask them, could you explain this back to me in your own words? And if they can't do that, rewrite it. Because you may have not broken down the concepts into enough principles, into enough components, so that it makes sense for any intended audience. So it is important that a non-technical audience can understand and grasp the extract of what you are trying to say, and they can explain it back to you in their own words. That is how you preempt any kind of confusion, any kind of questions, and you incorporate that feedback into your writing. Remember, writing is not a lonely pursuit. You have friends, well-wishers, critics, yes, but kind critics all around you. People who give you constructive feedback, people who can drive your writing in good direction, people who can make you think better. And all of these are our friends in our journey of writing. Don't ever feel like you are sitting at a desk with your laptop or your notebook by yourself. You are connecting that knowledge to a wide group of people outside, and they are contributing back to you to enrich all that you have to share and inform to the world. Therefore, writing becomes an iterative process. It is something that we established in the first principle, if you remember, at the beginning of our course. Writing is iterative. It accommodates feedback, it accommodates reviews, and that is not a sign of weakness that you did not get the first draft right. In fact, the point of the first draft is to not get it right. Perfection is the enemy of production. Don't make that mistake. Ensure that you are reaching out to people with your writing and accommodate their feedback into your work. That is the only way and the sure short way of ensuring that your writing is enriched, not only by your own perspective, but also from your reader's perspective. Before we move on, a quick reflection for you. In your experience, how could peer review improve the quality of your writing? I've shown you some possibilities, I've shown you some reasons why it is worth doing, but think for yourself. Make some notes about who are the people whom you show your writing to, who would be possibly added to this list after we have learned about this in detail, and what value will they bring to your writing? How will they improve you? How will they enhance you and empower you to tell better stories with your writing? I'll get back to you with the fourth approach very soon. The fourth approach teaches us to be constantly vigilant. You revisit audience needs at every stage of writing. You check in regularly. Before writing, you decide who's the reader and what do they care about. While writing, am I using the right tone? Am I using the right detail? After writing, did I help them do something with this information? All of these questions will help ensure that your writing is in the right direction. Your North Star is not wavering. Your North Star is stable. You know which way your writing is progressing and why. What is the purpose of your writing going in that direction? Are you clear about why you are doing something with the words that you have put down on paper? So these reflections across all different stages of writing will ensure that there is no room left for miscalculation, misunderstanding, and any kind of confusion between you, your intended message, and the reader, their interpretation of that message. If you have kept all of these things in order, it'll work as a safeguard for your information. I'll give you an example. If you do not check the need of the audience at every stage, you might go on with this kind of an approach before doing that. Here's my analysis. You present the entire information on a platter and you don't guide your reader through what the analysis is. You just present it as a factual information. But after you have taken these things into consideration, this may be your approach. Here's what my reader needs to understand and why it matters to them. This is what augments our writing more in the direction of our reader, and it ensures that it becomes reader-centric. Not just us talking to them, but us keeping their concerns in mind while designing the very fabric of our writing. Let's do a little exercise to understand this in detail. Write down 3 questions that your reader might ask after reading your report. Have you answered all of them in the report? That's most important. So, think about what the direction of your report may be and what may emerge as the consequential questions to what you have written. And then, in the feedback that you have received, it is important that you accommodate that information within the document itself. Do this exercise, try to think about what the questions might be, and I will see you again. In the past 3 lectures, we have looked at the nitty-gritties of reader-centric writing. We first introduced ourselves to this approach as a philosophy, as a temperament of approaching writing from the perspective of the audience. We looked at the importance, as in why it is justified to keep this as the central guiding principle of our writing practice. Then we arrived at some strategies, some mental models, some mind maps of how to think about reader-centric writing. And in this one, we looked at some approaches. And that concludes our introductory journey into reader-centric writing. So, in conclusion, here are some points that may help us remember what the core of reader-centric writing is. Reader-centric writing is about purpose, not just style. Reader-centric writing connects every part of your communication, the structure, the tone, the word choice, the format, the content, all of this to the needs of your reader, not the writer. And by applying the right strategies and approaches, your writing can become more persuasive and more impactful. It ensures that your data insights not only make sense, but also make a difference. That compelling nature of writing, that compelling energy of insights that you bring to the table can be communicated at the right intensity if you keep the reader in your mind while designing your communication. In the next few lectures, we will look at the different components that comprise reader centricity. Could be the structure, could be the tone, could be the format, all of this in further detail coming up for you. And like I promised, we will begin by ensuring that we understand the mental models of our intended audiences. But before I leave you, here's a quick exercise for you. Take one of your own past writing samples and ask, who was this written for? Did it meet their needs? What would I change now using reader-centric strategies? You can pick up something that you have written for this course or otherwise. Try to gauge who the audience was. Try to be a harsh critic of yourself and ask, did I actually meet the needs of my audience? And if I were to keep that feedback into consideration, what would I change using reader-centric writing strategies? So that was it from my side as far as the approaches of reader-centric writing were concerned. I will see you in the next lecture with more nuances into our journey into exploring reader-centric writing. Until then, keep learning, keep practicing, and stay curious. I wish you all the best, and I will see you in the next class. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaskar.